We have just witnessed one of the worst cover-ups in modern British history. In front of our very eyes, virtually every group that we are told to trust, the police, politicians, the government, the mainstream media, the justice system, all of those groups are part of an interwoven plot to mislead the population about a crime so shocking that it shook the soul of this United Kingdom. It sounds like a nightmare, but that just happened over the Southport Massacre. And even now, those organs of state are doing everything possible to stop people like me revealing the anatomy of this cover-up. So to sum up, we all knew that something was up and that something didn't add up about Axel Rudakabana. Contempt of court laws mean even now I can't tell you what I've learned about the son of Rwandan immigrants. But for weeks, we were assured that there was no Islamic terrorism motive, nothing to see here, probably just mental illness, folks. Isn't it always? Oh, wait. The cops discovered an Al-Qaeda terrorism manual and actual ricin being produced, which could have been used as a potential biological weapon. This discovery was made weeks ago. The police knew, the government knew, and I believe the Prime Minister knew. But they continued with the despicably dishonest claim that to suggest an Islamist motivation amounted to a conspiracy theory. Everything has been done here, not to expose the truth, but to try and manage us like fools, as if this is some sort of PR operation. The announcement was even delayed from Friday, with Guido Fawkes pressured not to publish to allow the Tommy Robinson protest to go ahead. Conveniently, when this information emerged, Tommy Robinson, he just happens to be behind bars in Belmarsh. Indeed, lots of people are behind bars, aren't they? Go to a protest and yell at the police. You're behind bars like Peter Lynch before he died in custody. Send a frustrated X or Facebook post like Julie Sweeney or Lucy Connolly, and you're behind bars too. And the strategically timed announcement was designed to be immediately eclipsed by this afternoon's budget. In a complete dereliction of duty, the British Bashing Corporation didn't lead its flagship 6 p.m. or 10 p.m. bulletins on the bombshell announcement. Didn't leave Newsnight on it either. I repeat, they don't want you to talk about this. And there are lots of other ways to shut down this conversation. PMQ's actually started today with a warning from the Speaker of the House, Lindsay Hoyle.
I wish to remind the House that the following horrendous, terrible incident in Southport on the 29th of July, a suspect is awaiting trial, having been charged with multiple offences. That means the House Sub Judice resolution is engaged and references should not be made to the case. I know that all honourable members wish to see justice done in this case. It is therefore of paramount importance that nothing is said in this House which could potentially prejudice a proper trial.
So we can never talk about it, can we? Not even in Parliament. But Richard Tice of Reform UK, and I give him a lot of credit for this, bravely raised the topic. He didn't mention Southport specifically after that warning from the Speaker. But when he did, Two-Tier Care actually had the cheek to give a moral lecture while continuing to hide behind the law.
Richard Tice.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The government's own independent reviewer of terrorism legislation, Jonathan Hall Casey, has said repeatedly recently that it is important in incidents of terrorism that the authorities put out more information sooner in order to prevent an information gap. Does the Prime Minister agree?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, obviously I'll tread carefully in answering this question for the very reasons that you yourself set out at the beginning of this session. I think it's very important, first and foremost, that in all cases, including the particularly difficult case that the Speaker mentioned earlier, that the police and prosecutors are able to do their difficult job. And all of us in this House have a choice to make, including both candidates to be the next Tory leader. They can either support the police in their difficult task, or they can undermine the police in their difficult task. And I know which side I'm on.
Rachel Blake.
No wonder Farage wasn't impressed, because this is all part of the plan by the blob and the deep state to shut down the truth. One man should know, Dominic Cummings, because he has worked behind the scenes in government. He's revealed all today. He's gone rogue. Haven't always been a fan of Dominic Cummings, but I'm here for this. So on X, responding directly to Starmer, he said he knew about Al-Qaeda immediately. He spent August lying about far right and Elon Musk. He dumped the story out now so the budget would hide it. Then he targeted the BBC over its coverage that I just referred to, writing, BBC acting as disinformation for Number 10. The PM's office was informed immediately. Read the search, Al-Qaeda, ricin, etc. The BBC uses clever wording, aware of charges to spread more disinformation. The mainstream is the disinformation. And look at this compare and contrast from Matt Ridley, just to prove the point. So the BBC on the 19th of August said the violence was started by false online rumours that the suspect in the Southport attack was a Muslim. The BBC on the 29th of October, he has been charged with producing the poison ricin and possessing a military study of an Al-Qaeda training manual. Verify that. The journalist Colin Brazier responded, describing this as a national scandal without precedent. Dominic Cummings wasn't done, though. He also turned his fire at journalists like Dan Hodges, who wrote, to save Tommy Robinson's supporters wasting their breath or keyboard strokes, I'm not saying anything until the trial of Axel Ruda-Cabana is concluded, after which I'll have a whole lot to say. But in response, Dominic Cummings wrote that Number 10 knew almost immediately about the Al-Qaeda connection, and he said the way the system works, anti-terrorism cops and Foreign Home Office unit calls the PM's private secretary responsible for coordination. Then the private secretary briefs the PM within minutes or a couple of hours max if the PM is already in something urgent. And the problem is, for people like Dan Hodges, is that he never had any problem talking about this case when officials claimed that there was no Islamist connection. Indeed, so many commentators on the left now look like the biggest fools. I've got to show you Bush Rashake going nuts today.
Because you found out that Axel Ruda-Cabana, this heinous individual that committed atrocities by killing 3 beautiful little girls, and you want to politicize that and push your racist, Islamophobic, anti-Muslim bullshit, because that's who you are, shamelessly, like all these political individuals that are coming out as well. Right now, if he's a terrorist, he's a goddamn terrorist. That's what that is.
But that wasn't what Bush Rashake was saying immediately after the massacre, when she wrote, seriously, stop with the conspiracy theory that the Southport suspect could be a Muslim convert, but the authorities are concealing it. We get it. You hate Muslims and nothing will appease you, but please just shut the hell up now. Very similar to the country's race beta-in-chief, Dr. Scholler, who wrote, not Muslim, nothing to do with Islam, everything he knows he learnt from Britain. But of course, much more serious is about the cover-up from within government itself. And I put to you today that the Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, lied to Parliament and should now resign. Watch.
Extremely important that people don't spread damaging misinformation online. False information has already been extensively shared in the last 24 hours. Those who do this for their own purposes risk undermining a crucial criminal investigation. And I ask everyone to show some respect for the community in Southport and for families who are grieving and in trauma.
Yvette Cooper, You were the one spreading misinformation. Shame on you. As the former Reform UK Deputy Ben Habib wrote, the Home Secretary said it is important not to spread false information while she herself spread false information. She should resign. If she won't resign, she should be sacked. Keir Starmer too. And then there's the police. Can we even trust the police with all of this? Well, I don't think so, unfortunately. So I need to show you two clips, and I want you to look at the contrasting way that Serena Kennedy of the Merseyside Police is acting. So here she is announcing the new charges against Ruda Kebano yesterday.
Today, the Crown Prosecution Service has authorised Axel Ruda Kebano, aged 18, from Lancashire, to be charged with 2 further offences. Axel Ruda Kebano already faces 3 charges of murder, 10 charges of attempted murder and 1 charge of possession of a knife, all relating to the incident at Hart Street on the 29th of July 2024. The 2 further offences relate to evidence obtained by Merseyside Police during searches of Axel Ruda Kebano's home address as part of a lengthy and complex investigation which has been ongoing since the 29th of July. The additional charges are the production of a biological toxin, namely ricin, contrary to Section 1 of the Biological Weapons Act 1974, and possession of information, namely a PDF file entitled Military Studies in the Jihad Against the Tyrants, the Al-Qaeda Training Manual.
So all very professional, right? All very sage. She warned us not to speculate. Let's just be very careful. But look at Serena Kennedy, the same woman, taking a completely rogue approach when she was dealing with the so-called rioters after the Southport Massacre.
What I would say to those people who think they've got away with being involved in the disorder on Tuesday or on Saturday, you absolutely haven't got away with it. We are coming for you. We've got hours of social media footage. We've got hours of CCTV footage. I've got officers working round the clock to identify who you are, where you live, where you work. We are coming for you. We'll be coming for you for the next few days. We'll be coming for you for the next few months. So you might get to next week. You might be sitting with a cup of tea thinking, phew, I've got away with it. Please let me reassure you, you haven't got away with it. We are coming for you. You will feel the full force of the law.
So when Serena Kennedy made that video, did she know that the so-called rioters and social media posters were actually completely right to suggest an Islamist link? We need to know. But still, the cover-up goes on, as Andre Walker posted. Just to explain, Merseyside Police are saying you can download a terror manual, produce a biological weapon based on its advice, and undertake a lone wolf knife attack it recommends without being inspired by terrorism. Meritless argument. And it is completely insane. It is more than meritless. How on earth can you say that the Southport Massacre was not terrorism, given what we know? Now, no one man took more heat from the establishment and the MSM, especially those 2 disgusting activists, Susanna Reid and Cooper's bed buddy Ed Balls, on Good Morning Britain. No one took more heat from them than Nigel Farage for saying this.
Whether the truth is being withheld from us, I don't know the answer to that, but I think it is a fair and legitimate question.
Well, I just need to be very clear to Susanna Reid and Ed Balls. You are not journalists. You are activists working on behalf of the government. And that has now been proven time and again. It was proven during Brexit, it was proven during COVID, it was proven during the vaccine rollout, and now it's been proven with the Southport Massacre cover-up. And at the end of the day, Farage was right, wasn't he, Susanna?
In the wake of the horrific murder of those 3 girls in Southport in July of this year, I asked some questions saying, please tell us the truth. Stop the online speculation. Well, it's taken a long time to find out more about the individual. He's now been charged, believe it or not, under the Biological Weapons Act because the police have found ricin in his home. He's been charged under the Terrorism Act, alleged to have downloaded Al-Qaeda terrorist materials. But the murder of the girls and the serious injury of the others, that is still being treated as a non-terror incident because they don't know what the motives were. We've also been told this afternoon there are other facts that we don't yet know, because the Crown Prosecution Service say they will come out in good time in court and are not to be discussed now. So that's all right then. That all makes sense to you, doesn't it? Yes, absolutely.
Now look, there's nothing funny about this, but Farage deserves apologies. And he especially deserves apologies from that red-faced troll, James O'Brien, on the Labour Broadcasting Company, who, can you believe it, even today, continued to deny all reality.
People on social media claiming yesterday that they've somehow been vindicated. It's quite extraordinary. All of the lies are still lies. Absolutely none of the misinformation has been refuted or undermined. But you've got these half-wits jumping up and down all over social media, up to and including Robert Jenrick, claiming that there's some sort of conspiracy going on, or claiming that there's some sort of problem here. There have been great miscarriages of justice, and there have been great journalists who have blown them open. There have been great politicians who have finally delivered the truth about events like Hillsborough to the public. But generally speaking, we respect the authorities, we respect the police, and we respect the rule of law. And we acknowledge that the wheels of justice turn slowly. So what has happened? Why do people want a running commentary when it is so obviously and demonstrably at odds with the interests of justice, the interests of the victims' families, and the interests of society?
That guy doesn't give a damn about justice. He doesn't give a damn about the truth. Just Google Carl Beach after the show, and you'll see how he was involved in pushing a criminal paedophile fantasist for political reasons. But what I hope you can see now, and obviously I have to be very careful with what I say, because there is no free speech in this country. But I do hope that you can see that this cover-up has its tentacles running through the establishment, and it is all designed not to allow someone like me say something like this. Thankfully, in the independent media, while we can still be thrown in jail, we do have more bravery. And there are some very brave people. I mean, Ayaan Hirsi Ali wrote, the name Axel Rudakabana does not have a Muslim ring to it, does it? He is a convert. Who converted him to Islam? Which mosque did he attend? Who else is involved? So the angry British citizens now locked up did not spread information, did they? Or is it Islamophobic to ask these questions? Well, no, it's not. No, it's not actually, because as Jonathan Hall, KC, the independent reviewer of terrorism laws, told the Radio 4 Today programme this morning, the government must not fall into the trap of staying silent on such cases, because if there's an information gap in the MSM, then there are other voices who will fill it. But it's too late for that, because as the Tory leadership contender Robert Jenrick said right here on Outspoken yesterday, there is now a veil of secrecy where serious crimes are not covered for fear of damaging social cohesion.
I don't want people to be calling out incidents, squeamishly or selectively, as we saw earlier in the summer. In fact, I want the media to be able to speak about these things much more openly than they are today. I'm worried that we are sliding into the position that we see in some other European countries like Germany, where there is censorship, either by regulation or self-censorship, and serious crimes that are being committed, for example, by illegal migrants on the streets, are not being covered properly out of fear for community tensions and community cohesion issues. That is wrong. And we need to be ensuring that our media are calling out what is happening, no veil of secrecy being drawn over what's happening on our own streets. That is letting the British public down.
That veil of secrecy over the Southport Massacre, a cover-up, let me be very clear, shames our establishment, shames our mainstream media, and especially shames our Prime Minister, who has shepherded in two-tier justice. Now, the Superstar panel. Father Calvin Robinson and Howard Cox join me for the entire show today. And Howard, you have written over the past 24 hours that you were told via credible info, given in confidence, that the Southport scumbag murderer was indeed a Muslim potential terrorist. You write, so Nigel Farage is now proven right to ask for the truth at the time. Had that been revealed, then riotous, angry protests would have been avoided. So, Howard, given what you knew, and I want to hear more about that, but obviously we have to be very careful, and I know you know that. But given what you knew, do you agree with me that this is a massive cover-up?
Absolutely, it's shocking beyond belief. And what I was told, and this is not going anything, it's not prejudicing anything, what is happening in the court case or what will happen in the court case. I was told that someone present at the arrest of this particular person heard something like, a jihadi chant. It's the usual one that you expect to hear. And I mentioned this, and I spoke to Martin Daldney of GB News about it, and we got some more evidence. And he told me yesterday, when they were announcing this, what was happening by the police, they're going to come along and talking about these new charges at about 3:30. And he just said to me in a nice text, say, what you actually found out, Howard, is definitely coming true. And, there is a lot of people behind this. The whole pathway, we need to find out who's involved with these cover-up. There's no doubt about it, that the inconsistencies in terms of how the police operate. But the big thing for me, as you quite rightly say, is Yvette Cooper and Starmer. How much did they know and when did they know it?
Well, Father Calvin Robinson, they knew. I mean, look, this only happened 12 weeks ago, right? And so the BBC's client journalism saying that the Prime Minister or the Home Office, the government, have known for a number of weeks. I mean, Calvin, that means they knew. And of course they knew. And what they wanted to do, Calvin, or my contention is that what they wanted to do was terrify the population into silence before this information emerged. They wanted Tommy Robinson locked up before this information emerged. But first, we've partnered with Gundry MD to share this information with you. Would you believe me if I told you inside your pantry right now is one of the healthiest foods on the planet? Yes, it's true. And it's not some weird, trendy superfood. Spoiler alert, it's olive oil. You've probably used to cooking with it, but there are countless ways to use olive oil to help yourself look and feel younger. For example, olive oil is a natural way to help you achieve a more youthful appearance. Besides helping you look younger on the outside, it's a fantastic tool for your insides as well. According to Dr. Stephen Gundry, a famous cardiothoracic surgeon, nutrition expert, and health advocate, you should get as much high-quality olive oil into your daily routine as possible, whether it's taking a shot of it daily or keeping a bottle of it in your bathroom medicine cabinet. But what kind of olive oil is best for your health? Well, any olive oil can give you some benefits, but if you're looking to get the best results, it matters a lot which one you pick. The olive oil industry is huge, you see. You can tell by the number of olive oil brands you can see at the grocery store, and you can bet they're not all made with the consumer in mind. And many brands may even cut corners one way or another to increase profits. When Dr. Gundry came to that realization, he was appalled. But some olive oils are so powerful, it may only take a few tablespoons a week to see these incredible health benefits. So how can you tell between an olive oil that can be a health booster and which one isn't up to par? Well, in an effort to answer that question, Dr. Gundry has decided to take a stand and release his personal research and findings. This video has gone viral since its release, and it's important you see it so you can start benefiting immediately. So you can watch the video right now by going to getolive1.com/outspoken, or you can just click on the link in the description box below. So that's getolive1.com/outspoken, or you can just click in the description box below on the link. People who have taken his advice have shared their results with him, saying the olive oil they bought after learning his simple rules have helped change their lives. So make sure you go to getolive1.com/outspoken or click on the link in the description box below this video. But now, back to the show.
Absolutely. It shows fear on the side of the state, actually. They're acting in fear. The way that they silenced not just Tommy, but any patriot that was out there protesting. They called them far-right thugs, so they threw ad hominems at them, and then they clamped down with the police. And the state shouldn't be using the police force in the way that they were. The politicians should not be leaning on the police force. They should be independent. But they leaned on the police force. They leaned on the judiciary to give expedited sentences, to send people to prison for posting on Facebook and Twitter. All of this at the same time as they had this false flag. You'll remember very well, we talked about it on here when they said, 100 far-right marches are going to happen tomorrow. Not one far-right march happened. But of course, everyone saw these busloads of lefties that were sent out there, funded by the unions with their, copy and paste placards that were anti-far-right, anti something that doesn't even exist. But it sent a clear message, and the government were like, we have won, the riots are over. All of it was manipulation and propaganda. And so this is the judiciary, police, the politicians, but of course, always the legacy media. What was the BBC headline? Government became aware of new Southport charges in last few weeks. Why lie? And you're right, that clever language, that could mean any time. We learned this now exactly 3 months after the fact. Now, if Howard knew, and Howard's one of two other people, I've heard two other people in the last few days who said they also knew. So if people knew, and Prime Minister didn't, that shows either he's incompetent, or the system is working or incorrectly, or something, or someone somewhere is lying. So, we can take it for granted that if Howard knew, our Prime Minister knew. And so if our Prime Minister knew and he lied about it, politicians lied about it, his police forces lied about it, and his legacy media lied about it, they're all covering up. And that means that they're all against the British people in every step of the way across this process.
And Howard, there is two-tier policing when it comes to this type of thing, because Yvette Cooper and Keir Starmer had absolutely no problem with prejudicing the trial of the so-called rioters or the people who had posted on social media after the Southport Massacre. The Home Office literally published on X a post containing all of their faces. So it feels to me like they hide behind contempt of court laws when it satisfies them. And I'm sorry, when it comes to national security, Howard, when this involves a terror attack, you can't just constantly say, this guy has to have a fair trial. Yes, he has to have a fair trial, but the public in issues around terrorism needs to know the truth. And as Jonathan Hall Casey said, if you don't give us the truth, well, that's when we're going to fill the gap, sometimes with speculation.
Well, absolutely. I mean, what I heard the police say today, that he said we have to realise that we don't know what the perpetrator of this, who was seen by everyone doing what he did, and his house flat was actually the ricin and the jihadi manual. Fundamentally that the police are saying he's got to have a fair trial because we don't know his motivation. I'm sorry.
He had an Al Qaeda manual. According to this, he was making rice, and again, we have to be very, very careful. But he is charged with stabbing to death 3 young British girls at a Taylor Swift dance class. How on earth can you claim that's not motivation? Exactly, Calvin, exactly.
His motivation does not matter. He stabbed 3 young children to death. He's been found with a terrorist manual, and he was creating a chemical weapon. He should be hanged, right? I don't care about this fair trial for terrorists. They're abusing the system when they say this terrorist deserves a fair trial. And at the same time, they're using terror laws, the Terror Act, to lock up patriots like Tommy Robinson and saying, we're going to go ahead and use this act that has been brought in to address terrorism, but instead they use it to lock people up for longer than 24 hours because they can get around the system. They are abusing the system, and they're using it against the British people. It's disgusting.
Yeah. No, I do agree with that. I completely agree with that. I also believe he deserves a fair trial, but I'm sorry, lots of people get fair trials in the USA where you can comment on them because of the First Amendment. What is happening is that people are now using our contempt of court laws. And when I say people, I'm talking about government officials, politicians, are hiding behind our contempt of court laws in order to stop discussion about cases that do not suit them politically, and that is completely wrong. Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.